Hey everyone, welcome back to Poplar Preparedness. We got some reports coming in from you guys about issues with chicken feed, particularly some particular brands that you're feeding the chickens that used to lay lots of eggs, but they're not laying eggs anymore. We're going to get into those reports as well as reports on what are happening on your store shelves. We're going to touch on egg prices because you guys are absolutely being floored by the prices you're seeing on eggs out there, but we won't be going into the nitty-gritty on that because it's going to vary from location to location. I am absolutely astonished. Just got my mom picked up a dozen eggs for me. They're visiting here from Florida, and the price was just outrageous. But, you know, if you really want eggs, you're still going to be paying it, aren't you? The price balance has gone definitely towards raising your own chickens. That has become actually quite cost effective now. Before it was a little bit of a hit or miss kind of thing. But we're going to get into all that and more. If you have updates that you want to pass on, information from inside your industry or insider information you have, you can email it directly to me at poplarpreparedness@gmail.com. Or you can pop it down in the comments of any video. Just use the word update somewhere in there and give us some sort of geographical location on what your report is. Let's jump into it. Jan in Allentown. Update from Walmart south of Allentown, PA. Plenty of eggs, but the 5 dozen box of large are now up to $18.80. I bought a head of lettuce that was smaller than a grapefruit for $1.99. Meat shelves looked full, but only one layer deep and nothing behind the front 2 rows. First time I've seen dozens of packages of chicken feet in the case, and they ain't cheap, folks. Yeah, I had never seen chicken feet before, but until just a couple months ago, and then I started seeing chicken feet at the Walmart, and just like, what's up with that? All right, Jet Jockey Bear Up says, update. The refinery that supplies 1/3 of the jet fuel to Denver International Airport has shut down. That is, I have a report that just went out yesterday about the refineries that shut down, but we're going to be seeing that. A lot of the fuel goes directly from those refineries through pipelines straight to airports and straight to pumping stations. We are going to be potentially seeing some relatively instantaneous shortages popping up because of that. PDK race. With the Southwest Airlines thing, do we really need more issues with the airports, right? PDK race says, update Phoenix. No heavy creams, tea, shortening, only pricey eggs, so only the fancy eggs. Nothing with regard to the dry cat food. No dry cat food. And that's at Walmart there in Phoenix, Arizona. Gardena Prawn says, update, Steve, you need to look into this. This is kind of what I was talking about before. Somebody posted on this post that the chicken feed from a couple brands changed in the last 6 months. And it didn't contain the minerals required for chickens to lay. It actually looked different. They were getting no production. I posted something on my friends group wondering if anyone else is having problems and noticed a difference in the quality of the feed over the last 6 months. Everybody I know who has chickens was feeding these brands was having problems and was getting no eggs, or like 1 or 2 where they should be getting a dozen or more. I too was in the same boat and unknowingly switched brands and type because of cost, and boom, I went from 2 to 9 eggs in 1 week. I didn't think anything of it until someone is saying that they're having this problem. Maybe we are all nuts. Maybe this is no big deal, but all of us chicken people are PO'd that we haven't been getting enough eggs. Is anyone else out there noticing this? Mean DK, this was what the post was, I believe. I noticed a problem with Dumor and Producer's Pride. DUMOR, I'm thinking it's Dumor, and Producer's Pride, both those brands. Starting in the summer, we've switched brands, but the girls have not come back after their molt. Egg production is linked directly with lysine and methionine and cysteine levels, CYSTIEINE levels. If either of those is too low, egg production will stop. Even though the Tractor Supply brand's list an adequate amount of both on labels, I bet there's a problem with low amounts in the grain that's not being adequately supplemented during production. Or maybe there's a problem getting the supplements, just like with all kinds of medicines currently. So now a lot of those minerals and such come from big plants, factories like what's shutting down in Germany. These big chemical plants actually produce a lot of these trace minerals and stuff like that go into these feeds. And if they're not available, they may be switching those what's going into that mix. So be careful with that. We're hearing Do More and Producer's Pride are not looking good right now. Nomad Janet says, just a heads up, our chickens were not laying normally. We have always purchased Do More, Scratch, and laying pellets. I told my husband the Scratch looked odd. So we bought a different brand, and the hens did a little better. And when we switched to the laying pellets to another brand, and wow, they're laying like it's early spring. So for those of you who have heat lamps on or whatever, and you're trying to get production during this winter with the egg prices they are, I don't blame you for sure. Do watch out for the fire hazards. But we're hearing from that. Lila also chimed in. We're having the same issue, and we're using the Producer's Pride and Do More's. I've been thinking it's in the feed, and just last night we decided the next grain load would be from a local feed store and different brand. I'm also going to deworm them with DE, which is probably diatomaceous earth. That's what you would use for that. Parrot Africa from South Africa says, concern of measles outbreak in 5 provinces in South Africa. Update, sorry Steve, another one. I just watched Carte Blanche on coal switching, and evidence due to the tracking the coal that they're using, it's being switched for lower quality coal and is contributing to the load shedding in South Africa. This has shed some light on the load shedding, so to speak. I caught what you did there. But yeah, so apparently in South Africa they're swapping out the higher heat coal for coal that doesn't burn quite as hot, and it's not producing the pressures and not generating quite as much electricity out there. That is an issue that we always have out there, is that with all these utility companies, the decisions that they make directly can impact the grid, but you don't necessarily have any input in what those decisions are that they're making. Kathy N. says, update from my sister in central South Dakota. She's a manager of produce. She was told the warehouse has sent messages about severe pasta shortages. This ties in with the wheat damage that has just been reported. If you can make your own pasta, stock up on flour and practice now making pasta. I can make my own pasta, and it's amazingly fresh. Thank you. So we're hearing that with the damage to the hard red winter wheat, which is used to make pasta. Apparently, grocery chain, at least one grocery chain, is putting out word that this is going to impact pasta supply and that they need to start being aware of that at the stores. That does seem pretty instantaneous, because this winter wheat wouldn't be harvested until next late spring, early summer, right? It's early summer, I think. But so that shouldn't be directly impacting it, but we did have a bad harvest this past year and the year before that. Pretty much the year before, it was really bad, and then this year was like not great, but not like terrible. So we weren't able to kind of like restock so much from this year, but the prior year we definitely took a hit on the red hard wheat that's used for the pastas and stuff like that, which is why you've been seeing a lot of pasta shortages out there for the past year, really. And we're looking at that continuing on for the near future, and potentially getting a lot worse starting next year. So we'll keep an eye on that. Keep your eye on the pasta. If you need to stock up on pasta, now might be a good time to do that. Fly Tire says, West Denver last night we had about 15 to 20 power outages. So no indication on what that was about, but there is storms. I don't know if that's storm related. Northern Nancy says, went to Walmart yesterday. Eggs were low, margarine very low, almost out. Facial tissue out except for a few boxes, name brand. Stood in line 35 to 40 minutes to check out. People are stocking up. Those who bought food had carts piled up to the tops of the carts. I am in Milwaukee. Also saw at Walmart a big shortage of both children's and adult cold and flu products. If you haven't had the flu, if you haven't had the cold yet this year, you're probably going to get it. Make sure you're stocked up on cold and flu stuff. All the cough suppressants, all the cough drops and stuff like that, because that stuff is just disappearing. It's flying off the shelves real fast. If you're looking for cough drops, I just tried these honey ones that from Equate from Walmart. They're actually quite tasty and they seem to work really well. They have the honey in them, and then in addition to that, they're actually really cheap. They're only like $1 something for a bag of them at Walmart. So you might want to stock up on those if you don't have a cough syrup or a cough drop that's your favorite. Anna K. in Mid-Coast, Maine, Walmart, almost no eggs, perhaps 5% of normal. $6.42 a dozen. Okay, you take the cake so far today for me. Let's go over to South Africa. Debbie C. This is actually UK. They're talking about South Africa. South Africa Eskom load shedding has been going on for a decade. In the UK, here in the UK, we start load shedding from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. daily in January. The UK is going to schedule load shedding for the next month. I'm glad I buy very little frozen or refrigerated food. I have switched to only powdered milk now, so I don't have to rely on milk in the fridge, which could go bad if the power is cut. That's big news out there, isn't it? I had heard some people kind of mention that or whatever, but I hadn't seen that until now. It seems so unbelievable that the UK is going to be scheduling load shedding that extensively and without like an emergency, right? Charlie says New Zealand here, egg shortage here too at the moment. I bet the Easter eggs will be on the shelves in about a week though. Yeah, those are probably going to be chocolate and candy and just made up of pure sugar. Yeah, so egg shortage in New Zealand as well. Here's another one from New Zealand. Frederick says, eggs are unbelievably expensive now, also in New Zealand, forcing farms to change over from cage to free range. So just in case the egg shortage wasn't bad enough, the government, of course, in New Zealand is meddling with farmers right now too. Change over from cage to free range, plus restrictions on fertilizer usage and other pressures because the government 2030 agenda. Farmers are getting rid of their stock animals and planting trees instead because better tax benefits and less meddling from the government. When you have all your farmers stopping producing food and starting to plant trees, you know that there is a crisis coming because, while a bunch of farmers may decide to stop producing food, are you going to convince a large swath of the population to stop eating food? And that's probably not going to go so well because people have a tendency to change governments when they don't get food, okay? And this is probably going to be really impacting low-income countries first. This is probably going to hit Africa first. This is going to hit these shortages, and these prices are already bringing down governments all around the world. It is a crazy time to be alive, folks. If you thought the Arab Spring in 2011 was bad, you just wait to see what happens in the next number of months as food prices continue to go up. Food shortages continue to increase, and the harvests get worse and worse the more governments are meddling in the process, not to mention the changes that are happening in the weather right now, whether those are man-made or solar-oriented. All right, folks, if you have reports for me, please do send them to me, poplarpreparedness@gmail.com, or pop them down in the comments of any video using the word update and give us some sort of location where you are so it's useful. And if you found this video to be useful, helpful, you might want to check out this video right over here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you later. Steve Poplar out.